appreciate you coming on the podcast. This is brilliant. Episode 7, Become Fearless Podcast. Make sure you guys subscribe to learn how to conquer your fears. We educate, motivate and inspire you to conquer your fears and take action. Straight into it, Kevin. First question. What's your story?
My story is that I'm currently unemployed. I'm now, to this day, a struggling artist. So I'm currently trying to get my art published on Instagram on and off. So that's currently where I am at the moment. I'm a struggling artist.
That's interesting. That's a great little line, a struggling artist. A lot of people relate to that. So, how did you get into art? Why do you do art? And what are you trying to achieve at the moment with your art on Instagram?
Well, the thing about art is that I always loved it when I was a little kid. I think that's one thing that I remember when I was a little kid. I always loved to draw art. In fact, the first drawing that I did was when Joker was getting beaten up by Batman. You know, the original Batman movie in the 90s, I think it was late 80s, but that drawing of the Joker getting beaten up by Batman, I was very, very good at art. I loved it when I was a kid. I thought I was going to do it forever, and then real life happened. And then when I came into teenager, art was replaced with girls and drama and struggles, and well, obviously struggles, the old typical teenage angst. So that art thing was taken to the wayside. So how can I say it, when I go back to university, it kind of I was still trying to recover it, but the whole women, girls, trying to fit in, trying to be popular kind of overshadowed that. So it's only when I stopped going to university, when I finished it and I started going into my own shell, so to speak, I start to rediscover art. And then I start doing a lot of drawings, and that's actually probably the best thing about it, able to create in your own time, the space to create. And that was kind of what drove me into it. I read a lot of philosophy, psychology, and that's how I can do this forever. And that's what really drives me. I mean, if you look at my Instagram, there's a lot of it. If there's a photo of my art there, there's always a poem there. So it's more of a question of trying to not let distractions get involved. So I love creating, but I feel what I kind of have to learn, I have to not let distractions get in the way.
Wow, you're so passionate about your art. It's so great to listen to, because I said at the time I've known you, I never got to see this side of you, because you didn't tell me that you was an artist. It was only, I think, this year. But some great stuff there. I don't even know where to go, because you said so many good things, and I don't have a list of questions, but that's really interesting. This is just off the top of my head, Kevin. Do you think most artists are, without labeling or boxing anyone in, but do you think by character most artists are quite shy and introverted, and art is a way for them to get connection that maybe they're scared to get socially, or maybe they just feel like they need to breathe, as you said, and just kind of be on their own, if that made sense?
I think a lot of it comes to being misunderstood. I think a lot of people who are artists, they want to be understood for their art. I mean, the main thing of an artist is to express what comes from within, from outside. It's almost like they want the world to know what goes through their own mind, so to speak. But I think not all of them. Some are very, 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 very extroverted. I mean, I go to art class down at Waterloo, and there's a lot of talented people, very, very extraordinary people, and they are not like type of people that that you're talking about. But I do know what you're saying, and there are some, and they are out there. And I think a lot of it is to do with two things. One, being self-conscious, and the second one is, like I said before, is being misunderstood. I think people want to be misunderstood, and it's like they want to be known, this is my work. And also it's the criticism as well. They don't like to be criticized. It's like you put your heart and soul into something, and for someone who you don't know to criticize it, it's kind of detrimental. But what people, well, what I realize is that I kind of answer my own question. They don't know you, so it's kind of like, you're taking someone that you don't really know, criticizing your own work for something that you put heart and soul in, and they don't really know you, and that's kind of like, the gist of it. But most of it, that just is misunderstood. They don't want to be misunderstood. Most of the people that I met, it's obviously different, but most of the artists that I met, they're not really like that. But from what I've seen, they don't like being. They like to be like, this is my art, and I want to. This is what is from within and without, and it's very, very personal. Some of them don't like to be criticized because they take it personal. So it's kind of like, it's kind of like they want that person to know this is what my message is all about, and they don't want that message to be diluted in the sense of the word. But none of the artists that I met are not like that. Most of them are very, very, very extroverted. They don't care. So that's kind of how it goes about. And another thing, I think, one person I think I spoke to, and they told me a true artist doesn't care what anyone else think about their art. What they really care about is getting their art out there. And if you like it, that's fine. If you don't, you don't. But the main point is that it's coming from within to without. Like, it's honoring your own truth, so to speak. So, like,
Just blown away. I think I know so many people that just listen to what you just said will really appreciate that and relate to that.
Yeah.
Wow, pretty blown away. I didn't expect such a intelligent, brave, honest answers, and I think that word you said, misunderstood. Everyone feels like that. If they're being honest, everyone is afraid of people for the reason you said, being misunderstood. Because some great points you touched on when you said artists, the real. Not philosophy. Maybe philosophy is to put art out and not care what people think.
Yeah.
But
to say that, but I think the main thing is in reality we do care what people think. That's the main thing. I mean, but I think it's like, how can I say it? You care about not caring. It's like, you want that person to care that you don't really care, that what their opinion matters, because that's their opinion. It's more a question that you care what comes from without. That's kind of how it goes about. So it's not like you stop caring, it's that you care, that you don't want them, let them know that basically this is what's coming from, like, from within, and you want them to care, but you don't. You want them to let this is who you care, that this is what you want to present to them. Like, you a person that is giving out your own truth, so to speak, and it's kind of like, it's kind of like a paradox, but it's like you want them to care that you don't care. Like, that this is what I am, so to speak. So I've met a lot of people, like, who are artists, like, that have kind of shown me that. I mean, I met one artist, I forgot his name, but it's somewhere in South London. He went to one of his shows and he didn't give a damn. He has his own studio as well. One time, and he brought his family. He's an old guy, but he represents that someone like that who doesn't really care. Like, he gives his art because he loves it, and that's kind of why I think a lot of people are not passionate now, because they really let people affect their point of view. And I think it's more of a question of, like, they want people who they really don't know to care about them. And that's kind of like, where a lot of people are at the moment.
That's really. I know the answer, but I'm just trying to leave myself out. And if you get your perspective, do you think art can help for mental health, for depression, social anxiety, boredom, loneliness?
Yeah, it can, because, like I said, you're taking what's inside yourself out there, and it's not being judged. It's or right or wrong. It's being judged. In fact, this is how you really feel inside. I think the reason why people are very anxious towards each other is that they actually believe that people actually care what they think. They don't really care what you think. They care what they think, and I think we want that person to actually care about us. I can't really swear, can I? No, I can't swear.
No. You can swear. It's not It's not against the law. It's not going to offend me if you swear.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm only going from my point of view because people who are anxious have different point of views. But from what I'm here, I think the reason why people are so anxious is that they really want people to, like, their whole identity is based on how other people think about them. And I think what happens is that when you start having your own thoughts and feelings about something, if that person is not happy about it, you tend to it'll dampen your self-esteem. So it's more like, your whole point is just to please everyone else, especially with this lockdown thing. Everyone is just like, if you say hi to someone, like, you said why the person saying hi back, is like you feel like you have to please that person. But it's really just like, I think art can improve self-health, can improve mental health. It can, but it depends on the person. Most people, when they do something, they want, like, a reward or, like, some acknowledgement of that, but they don't realize that the whole pouring out of the art is the acknowledgement. And and that's like, that's something that a lot of people can't do. They feel like they have to have an end goal. I mean, it's kind of like a long thing to go through, because I've met a lot of confident people. I've met some anxious people. I feel like, it's more like people just want, like, that other person to do, to follow orders, basically, like, not to be like, not to be too unpredictable. And they want people to actually, like, I'm trying to find a word, because when I walk down the street, it's like they want people to be a certain way, and people are anxious because that person doesn't like me. He doesn't, like, that person doesn't care about me. But most people don't give a damn, and I think it's more of a question of, like, do you really value what comes inside yourself? And if people would, like, don't like it, that's fine. But people are very, 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 very nervous, especially now in this time. And then people just want things to be a little bit, like, safe and secure. And when you're anxious, you want things to be okay. Is that person gonna like it? When I say this, is this person going to, like, not get too upset? It's like it's like you're treading on like, on eggshells. And, like, people want the truth, but really what they really want is security. They want security of the truth. They don't really want, like, like the truth itself, because the truth scares a lot of people.
Wow. Next question, right? Just come to me. I'm going to say it, and this is for everyone. So I'm asking you, Kevin. I'm speaking out loud. Would you rather do a piece of art, right? Maybe you've done it before, and you love it. You're so proud of it. You've put everything into it, in how you want it. You post it on Instagram. It doesn't get. It gets one like, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't get any comments, but in your own heart it's fantastic. Like, you've done the best you can.
Yeah.
You're happy with it, but no one acknowledges it. Or second one is, you do a piece of art, you hate it, you don't like it, but other people are going to like it. So basically, this is a bit deep, but me and my friend having a conversation, it's almost like, for that moment, you abandon yourself within doing a piece of art that you don't believe in, you don't like, and then 10,000 people like the post on Instagram. They love it, you get all this love and stuff.
Yeah.
I know I put you on the spot, but I'm all about challenging in a positive way, helping people, challenging myself. Even doing this interview for me, I'm really enjoying it, actually. It's challenging though. So, I don't know, I just put you on the spot, didn't tell you I was going to ask you that. What would your answer be to that question? You can please try and be honest.
No problem. I mean, when I'm gonna be honest with you.
Did that make sense? Like,
yeah. I mean, I got a story behind it. I mean, to cut a long story, I'm gonna make a story out of this. I mean, the reason why I got into Instagram was because of my ex-girlfriend. My ex-girlfriend said, you can put your artwork onto there. Okay, fair enough. In fact, it wasn't just my ex-girlfriend. But it was either that or my old workplace kind of introduced me into it. I think it was mostly either her or my friend at work. I don't remember, but I just got into it. The main thing me, the whole reason why I got into Instagram was I want to get my work out. That's it. I didn't care if I didn't get any likes. I just want to get my work out there. I didn't think of Instagram that much until I got the likes and I got comments. Like, oh, okay, fair enough. And then I just started putting more and more and more, and I got a lot of comments saying, oh, okay. And I showed up my art to my girlfriend at the time, and I think I did. I don't remember, but she liked it, so I got into it more and more and more. And then obviously something happened between my ex, and it kind of like, you know, if you look at most of the artwork on my Instagram, it kind of reflects the breakup, well, sort of stuff, sort of thing. So it was just like, it's kind of like, you know, a personal journal, and like, you know, me taking my art out there. And it wasn't that I wanted it for the likes. I think, in fact, that's actually a good thing that you told me the second thing, because that actually happened. I mean, there was one work that I didn't think was that good. It wasn't that impressive. It was like, I'll just put it out there because it's something I'll put in, like, you know, it was, the idea was there, but I didn't like the execution. It wasn't like it really spoke to himself, but it looked kind of cool, so I put it there. And that got more likes, that got more of a renaissance towards people than the other art that I did. I mean, that was kind of amazing actually. But yeah, the other, I mean, I think because my art was more about, like, you know, at the beginning, the colors were communicating the emotion the person was feeling, and the artwork was kind of like, you know, like illustrating, like, you know, what that person is, that sort of stuff. But yeah, I mean, that kind of blew me away a little bit, because most of the time the art I really, really like, I hope people will get, but they don't. And the other art that I didn't like, they loved it, and it's kind of like a catch-22. It's like, it's almost like I didn't even need to put any effort whatsoever. And I think during those times I was drinking a lot of JD at the time. So
John Daniel and Coke.
Jack Daniel, Coke's rubbish.
Joking. JD and Coke. There's a film, I think Al Pacino says John Daniel, and the guy goes Jack Daniels. He goes, when you've been drinking it as long as me, it's John Daniel or something like that.
Yeah, because is that the film Heat?
I think so. I'm not 100%. It might be. I love Heat.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't give it any name. I wasn't that bad. I mean, the guy was probably a cop. I'm probably dealing with other sort of criminals in my head, but that's a long story short. The main thing is that, like, you know, I think for me, Instagram was more of a question of whether people like it or they don't. It's more like a place for me to take my innermost thoughts inside it, and I do that most of the time. I kind of stopped now because they kind of intensified in lockdown. I mean, obviously, but then I read a lot of Stoicism, and that actually helped me a lot. Actually, so yeah. Tell me about the Stoicism, and how does that help you? Well, first and foremost, it made me feel a bit objective. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm quite an emotional person. I'm very, like, you know, into, like, you know, certain stuff, and I get very emotional about it. I mean, the news was very, 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 like, you know, toxic, so to speak. Obviously, you need to know what's going on in the world, but obviously people like to exaggerate certain things. But I think the reason why I listen to Stoicism is more like, you know, an objective point of view. I mean, what I realized about this lockdown, what I think really, really got me into, like, you know, what made me realize the main thing is that you don't really control anything. You don't. I mean, anything, like, you know, that you really control is basically an illusion. You don't control nothing. I mean, because before the lockdown, everything was perfect. We were able to speak to people, say hi, how you doing. It just goes just like that. Like, you know, like nothing is in your control. I mean, it's like, it's kind of like you gotta make you more appreciative. I mean, obviously there's like a lot of people like depressed, and a lot of people out there are struggling. I think that's mainly because, you know, before the lockdown, they had other things to, like, you know, to walk away from, like their thoughts, like, you know, like drinking and partying. When that's gone, then all they have is their thoughts, and a lot of them have a lot of negative thoughts. And unfortunately, you hear some stories about, like, you know, what happened to them, and it's not nice. It's not nice. So the lockdown, although it's good for certain things, but for other people it's like it's not that good. So for me, stoicism is more like, you know what, you just I actually we lot of stoicism before the lockdown, but it was very helpful back then. I think what happened is that, how can I say, you don't like I said, you don't really control anything like, you know, is there to be meant to, it's meant to be known in the moment, not like, you know, you don't know how good we got it until this, before lockdown happened. So for me, I read a lot about it. I mean, Marcus Aurelius, I think it is, yeah. And the main thing that I got from it is that you don't really control the outside world. You only control what meaning you put into it. And it kind of helped my artwork because, like, you know, it's kind of like the same thing. Like, you know, my art is all about, like, you know, basically, obviously, you're being emotional drawing your art, but it's almost like, you know, from chaos to order. So, and plus it calms me down a little bit. So I read a lot of stoicism, a lot of it. I mean, obviously from the internet. I bought a book. I haven't read it that much, but I've got the gist of it. It's really like, it just calms you down a little bit. Obviously, it does get a little bit like another depression, like, you know, looking at the world. But yeah.
Wow, that's emotional. Wow. God, just got to take that in. Yeah, I'm trying so hard not to add my opinions, but it might make the interview better. But I learned that in my last couple of years that I really don't think we have that much control, like you said. I wouldn't have liked to have agreed on that years ago because of fear and wanting to believe. And like you said, we can control our reaction to things, how we respond, our perception. But you know, when you really cut the BS, and as you get older in life, I've seen it, how life can humble people.
Yeah.
Me too, all of us. And yeah, we're kind of seeing at the time we're going through that and maybe that's a good thing. What do you think? Do you think that's a good thing, that we don't have the control that we all want out of fear or our own ego? Is sort of it's human to want to control things. I mean, I'm doing this interview now, interviewing you, and really enjoying it. And I guess I'm trying not to allow that side of myself to try and make it perfect, or I want it to come out good. But so I can see how what you've shared today, you can apply it for everything in life, what you just said. Anyway, coming back to Batman and Joker, your inspiration for that. I loved Batman growing up. I know a lot of young men do.
Yeah.
Why do you think so many men, and I'm not excluding women, but why do they connect with Batman so much? In your own words.
Tragedy. Because
yeah?
I wasn't a Batman fan, but I think the reason why a lot of people connect to Batman is because of one thing, and one thing only, trauma. I think a lot of people, if you look at the Batman whole emphasis, he felt guilty for what happened to his parents' death, even though if you are looking at it objectively, he wasn't guilty. He was a helpless kid that got traumatized. And I think what happened, the reason why like a lot of people connect to Batman is because Batman represents what happens when you take a traumatic event and use it to empower yourself, empower others. I mean, after, like, you know, that happened to him, he's like looking for, searching for meaning, still is, but he's basically that type of person that something bad happened to him as a little kid and he can't process it. And I think the reason why, you know, what really scared Batman, well, Bruce Wayne, is that not that his parents got killed, but I think I read the book somewhere, but that life is fragile. Life can go like, just like this right now, like the whole thing. The whole thing is that he just feels that he just feels that life can go any time, moment. Life is not secure, and like, you know, and that whatever you put into your life can easily go just like that. And basically, as a young kid, he realized that life is not that certain. Anything can just go just like that. And I think the reason why he does is he wants to bring that certainty back. He wants to bring that uncertainty, like, you know, into the world, like, you know, what happened to his parents will not happen again, and that there is law and order in the world, just to recover what happened to his parents. But he's doing it through, like, you know, outside the law. He's doing it through a moral means, but a lot of people can connect to that because, like him, the more thing to do might not be the right thing to do at the moment. Sometimes you need to go outside the box to do things. He just realized that, you know, that because everyone's corrupt, everyone, like, you know, even the law, the cops are, like, you know, joining the police. He just feel like, you know what, he has no choice but to, he had no choice but to go outside the law, because morality is out the window. I mean, everyone say, why isn't Batman going outside the law? He has no choice but to, because the cops are not can't be trusted. The mayor can't be trusted. So he has to go outside the law because he's seen what the law is all about. And, you know, I think the movies kind of explained that most of the cops are not to be trusted. So he has to go outside the law, because if he goes inside the law, he has to play by their rules, and their rules can always be in conjunction with the mob. And he has no choice but to go outside the law, basically. So from the reason why a lot of people like Batman, because, you know, like Batman, they have to do this in order to bring meaning into their lives, so therefore they can empower themselves, empower others. There's a lot of, like, you know, of things about Batman that I could talk about, especially about the Joker. Do you want to talk about the Joker? Or?
We're going to get to that. This camera's going to run out. That brilliant answer. So just